Travel with us now through the dimensions of time, beyond even the furthest stars, as we search out new and wondrous worlds far from Eternia. On this journey, we will review comics, movies, shows, and more that hold a special place in our own fandom. What new world will be discovered this week? Find out right now as Legends of Grayskull goes OffWorld!
Hello everybody and welcome to Legends of Grayskull OffWorld, Episode 1! The fan podcast where we discuss the history, the magic, the mystery, and mythology of anything we want that's not He-Man, She-Ra, or any of the Masters of the Universe. It's good to be here for the first time. So, I know some of you are probably wondering, what is this? What's OffWorld? What's going on here? Well, basically, as you know, we've been trying to find ways to talk about all the stuff that we love outside of He-Man and She-Ra. So, me and Shawn got together. We created the OffWorld banner. So whenever you see an episode pop up that says OffWorld, this is going to be something outside of Eternia, outside of Etheria. We're going to places unknown, uncharted, and we're just going to be discussing things that make us happy. So here, again, for the first time, I am Matthew Duch. Down below me is Shawn Scavarna. Shawn, how we doing today?
Pretty good. I'm off-worlding myself because I'm not even in my own home. Go figure.
Go. Roman with dinosaurs.
Roman with the dinosaurs.
Above him, next to me, is our new co-host for OffWorld, Mr. Jesse Arnold. Jesse, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. So, let's go ahead. Let's introduce ourselves. I think most of you know me and Shawn from Legends of Grayskull. But for those of you who are just tuning in, because we're not talking about Eternia today, we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. So, Shawn, why don't you take the lead?
Oh, boy. All right. Name, rank, serial number. So I'm Shawn Scavarna, and I am the co-host over at Legends of Grayskull with Matthew Duch. I'm also a graphic designer from Pennsylvania, and for my geekdom, I don't remember a time I wasn't a geek. I know Superman was one of the first superheroes I ever remember recognizing, and my love for him just pretty much went on from there, as you can see. Always loved comic books, always loved superheroes. Also a pretty big He-Man fan. That's why I teamed up with Matthew. And that's about the most that I have as of right now. But I'm sure the blanks will be filled in as we talk tonight.
Absolutely. All right, Jesse, you're up.
All right. My name is Jesse Arnold. I work at a custom frame shop and part-time at a comic shop, which is the one Shawn and I went to as kids when we solidified our friendship over comic books and X-Men back in the day. Also in Central Pennsylvania, Shawn is in my apartment now. So, like you said, he's off-world, and I'm off-world because I'm not as Eternia centric as these guys, despite my pops up here. But I'm happy to join on the geek and see where this goes.
All right, and I am Matthew Duch. I live in LaPorte, Indiana, and I manage a grocery store. So, fun. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the geekdom, and that is, I like most guys my age, I'm mid-30s. I grew up He-Man, and then Turtles, and then getting into Spider-Man, and all the comic books as I got older. Power Rangers sprinkled in there, and same thing. I can't remember a time where I wasn't into something superhero or outrageous, and I'm just here to celebrate the love and talk about it. So, thank you guys for joining me here. So that's who we are. Let's talk about... Actually, before we talk about what we're going to discuss today, I want to talk a little bit here because I think it got glossed over a little bit. I want everybody to know what we're dealing with here. So, as most of you know, Shawn and I met, through Facebook in the groups, specifically He-Man and She-Ra groups. And go listen to Legends of Grayskull episode 1 to hear more about that and many other episodes. But I want to hear about you guys. Because when Shawn and I started talking about we're going to do OffWorld, we said, well, it'd be kind of nice to get somebody else in on this. And immediately Shawn is like, I know a guy. So Shawn, who is this guy you know? How did Shawn and Jesse become a thing?
Well, we became a thing by he started at my elementary school when we were in third grade, and he was an artist. So there was like already a competition element to that. I was like, wait a minute, I was the artist, and now all of a sudden people like his art, and it was bugging me. But jealousy put aside, we became friends by actually, he started me out in Army Ants, if I remember right. He was showing me these little Army Ants characters and figures that I thought were cool, and then like the next thing I knew, we jumped into Ninja Turtles. and that pretty much solidified it, and from there it's been an adventure of geekdom from various brands for the last 30 plus years.
So
we met when we were 8. So yeah.
Jesse, any
care
to elaborate or fix the flaws in his head?
No, there's I think he's being very generous with the term artist at the time. I think I drew like little animal heads that were inspired by Loon County style artwork.
I couldn't draw the whole body, so it was just this little head.
I'm trying to remember
that. But yeah, making friends at recess between the Army Ants and Tiger Sharks and whatever else random weird stuff we got into. But yeah,
the turtles were like the thing that really solidified that. And
a little side note on that: after he was Leo, I was Raph, and because I was such a great speller, I would always spell Raph Ralph.
Yeah.
Because there's
Raphael, I just
nice.
So, yeah, so that's where I'm at with things.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, it's good to have you guys. All right, let's get into what we're talking about today. So, this is something that Shawn and I have been talking about for a while here. I'm sure you guys have been talking about it too, and that is the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League that was released, well, probably a couple months ago now, to HBO Max. If I remember correctly, 4-hour long epic. So we are going to get into that today and talk about this thing. So what is your guys' DC background? Like, when you think DC, where does your mind go? Whether it's a particular comic run or series or what, or maybe it's the movies. I don't know. But for me personally, when I go just DC at its core, to me is the Bruce Timm animated universe. Batman the Animated Series, Superman, Justice League Unlimited, like that. Because I didn't get to the comic store as much as I wanted to as a kid. Like, I was the only one in my family into comics. None of my friends were really into comics as much, and there was no local, like easy access store. Everything was across town, or I'd have to have mom or dad drive me, you know? So growing up, having those on television, that built the basis of DC for me. So what about you guys?
Jesse?
Well, like Shawn said, Batman and Superman were just always in the consciousness. I mean, the Chris Reeves movies were already out. I was 8 or 9 when Batman came out. The Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
So, there was a Super Friends on TV, the Superpowers action figures. So that was kind of like my introduction to DC. They were just another bread and butter staple of just things that were there, but I never got super into them until the Batman movies. But at this point in life, when I think DC, I think Darwin Cook's New Frontier, the comic, because that, from where I'm at with DC, that is kind of the epitome of what those characters represent, the inspiration and all of that of what they represent, I think is best encapsulated in that story. And Wonder Woman and Aquaman are probably my two favorite characters at this point in time.
Wow. All right. We'll elaborate more on that later. But Shawn, take it away.
For me, it was basically the Chris Reeve movies when I was a kid. My mom was heavily into Superman, so it was never. It was always. We'd go to the 7-Eleven in Baltimore, and I was able to pick up like Superman comics, Detective Comics, Action Comics, Justice League, Batman, whatever, and those were kind of mainstays for me. But yeah, like the Chris Reeve movies kind of set the bar. But then my mom introduced me to the George Reeves Superman 50s TV show, the Batman 60s Adam West series, him and Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar made me, not sure why I had a funny tingling, but she definitely proved that puberty was going to be fun later on down the line. And then obviously, like Jesse, when I was like 9 or 10, then bam, Michael Keaton Batman, Jack Nicholson Joker movie, Batman 89. And honestly, compared to you, Matt, I don't have as much experience with the Timverse compared to the earlier stuff like Super Friends, Superpowers, like Jesse said, the toy line. That was a huge staple for me in my toy collection when I was a kid. And also the comic book drawn by the late great King of Comics, Jack Kirby, the King. So yeah, that was pretty much my mom laid that foundation for love of Superman from a very early age, and he's never gotten old for me.
Nice. No, yeah, and that's just going with our ages. Like, as most of our viewers know, I was born in '85. You guys are a good jump ahead of me there. So
he's being very gentle on that right now.
Shawn gets very cranky when I make fun of his age. So, but no, yeah, Super.
That's right. I'm still younger than him, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple months.
Only a couple months.
But yeah, so I'm glad for that. I'm glad Shawn is still the oldest guy in the room.
Oh yeah.
Happy. But yeah, that's and that's the thing. That's your Super Friends was my Batman. Like that was I remember Super Friends and all that, but it was reruns. It was Cartoon Network.
Sure.
It didn't feel like it was for me. You know what I mean? You could tell it was older. So,
well, I'll agree with you that because the animated series for Batman came out
right after Batman Returns.
Right. Or about
the
I remember I would get into Batman Returns. I would have like a movie of the summer where I'd get the trading cards, the official movie magazine, any of the candy gum dispensers shaped like Michael's head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Batman Returns was that movie.
And then the
animated series came out, and I was
all in on that show. I didn't know the
other ones.
That one I was like, yeah, that definitely felt like you said, like for me, even though I'm a little older. But yeah, I was like, all right, this is the Batman, and that's still my favorite version of the Joker.
No, absolutely. No. You mean well, we'll get into new Jokers. All right. So so give everyone a little baseline of kind of what we're used to with DC, what we look at when we look at DC. So, jumping back here, we're not to the Snyder Cut yet. Now let's talk about the Whedon cut that made it into theaters. Real quick here, Jesse, you start us off. What was your opinion after seeing the Joss Whedon cut?
I was really excited about it. I was glad that Joss Whedon was doing it at the time. Come to light, we're not going to get into that.
Right.
At the time,
I really enjoyed it. I can't remember if I saw it and then took Shawn, or if we saw it together for the first time together. Do you remember? Did I see it and then take you for a second time?
We went together opening night, I want to say.
Okay.
And I was just excited because it had color back in it, Snyderverse to that point, I wasn't super thrilled with. There were things I really like in those other movies, but getting into the Whedon take, I was like, all right, this is going to be a little more fun. They're going to be more on track to the version I like. And I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I saw it a couple times. I have the Steelbook Blu-ray, pop it in occasionally. So I'd go back to it. It's not a perfect movie, but I enjoyed it.
Okay. Shawn?
I will say I really liked Danny Elfman's score, and I
absolutely.
That he brought his Batman score into it a little bit, and that he brought the John Williams Superman theme
into it.
All right, Shawn?
I went into that movie at a time when I was sure I didn't want to see another one of these movies. I will probably, I don't think I'm going to be the doom and gloom of the three of us, but I was definitely somebody that once Batman v Superman hit, I checked out because that movie didn't really work for me on a lot of levels. So the idea that here we have a Justice League movie, I was like, none of these characters are fleshed out in a way that makes me feel excited to see them again. The only character I would really be excited to see is Wonder Woman because I thought she did great in Batman v Superman and her solo movie. And I was curious to see what Jason Momoa was going to do with Aquaman, but that was about it. I wish Henry Cavill could have had a good Superman movie to start this whole thing out.
Yeah.
And I feel it's half a good movie at best. And Batman v Superman is what it is. So my enthusiasm was pretty low when I went to see it. And honestly, I didn't despise it. I didn't hate it, but I definitely felt like they really were trying their best to course correct something and seeing how that would go because of how people were reacting to the previous two movies. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I gotta agree with both the parts. The music was good. It was nice to see them trying to fix things. For me, I think it was just mostly kind of a too little, too late type of thing. Like you said, Shawn, I think they just started off so poorly with Man of Steel that it just tarnished the rest of it. And then, Batman versus Superman muddied the waters even more. And it just like, how do you get back to what I feel this movie should be about? And both versions, a little bit of a spoiler, both versions at its heart is all about hope, but it's like everything leading up to it, there's like no hope. Everything is doom and gloom, and it just, seeing that theatrical release, it's just like too little too late. They threw Flash and Cyborg in there, and they were just, Cyborg wasn't fleshed out at all. Flash, I still don't like Ezra's Flash, but we'll get more into that later. And then, it felt like we're just throwing them all together. And that was probably my biggest thing. It's like you can't bring in the Justice League without having set them up first. And that was probably my biggest complaint about the movie. I guess, Jesse, you kind of already answered this. Walking out of the theater, well, you said you've seen it since then. You still watch it from time to time. So, Shawn, walking out of that theater, did you have any desire to go watch that again?
Not really. And the person that ended up making me rewatch it again was my son, who bought it on Vudu one day by accident. And the next thing I know, I'm watching this, and I'm like, out of the movies he could have bought, which would have been, I already had Man of Steel because my wife thinks that Henry Cavill in that suit is something awesome to her eyes and her taste. But I was like, thank God he didn't buy Batman v Superman, because dear Lord, I would have not lived that one down with my wife. So he saw Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and he just thought that is something I need to see. And honestly, it works for kids. That was something that really shocked me, because I rewatched it with him, and I'm sitting there going, it's not that bad as a popcorn flick, but if you want to actually put like an Avengers level feeling to this, it's lacking very much. There's no way around it for me, at least. At least in the first Avengers movie, there's that turn moment when the invasion's happening and all the aliens are on the sides of the building, and they're pulling off their masks and screeching, and also you got Hulk and Black Widow, Thor, Iron Man, Cap, Hawkeye, and there's that, like, these guys, something big is about to happen. In Justice League, there is just like we have the big guns, but do you give any crap about the fact that the big guns are here, because we didn't build anything leading up to this moment?
Right.
So
no, and I agree. Watching it through once, I was like, okay, I saw it. It is what it is. Like you said, popcorn flick, nothing too deep, even though it tried to be. And I had no desire to see it again until, when they put out that they were splicing together this supercut, restoring the Snyderverse and all that. And I said, damn it, I have to see this now.
I didn't say that, but I said I'll at least attempt it, because I was just curious more than anything. It wasn't that I had to do it. So.
I felt kind of the same way when I heard, like, I'd see all the trending hashtags and things like restore the Snyder Cut and all this stuff, and I was like, why? Like, I was really dreading watching the Snyder Cut, because I feel how he felt about these characters, and
the main reason I wanted to watch it was to see how different it was from what Joss Whedon did, like how much was
different. Because I saw a lot of people complaining about things, blaming Joss Whedon for things.
And when you watch the behind the scenes, Zack Snyder's on the set directing the scenes people are complaining about, at least to my eyes. So I just wanted to compare what the
different tastes were.
So I watched it over the first couple days.
Just I wanted to watch it in one sitting, but
I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't hate it.
All right, so let's get right into it here. So here's what we're going to do with this kind of stuff here, guys. So we're going to go through, we're each going to give a positive thing about the movie, and then we're each going to do a negative thing about the movie. And we'll discuss as we go along. So don't worry, there's going to be plenty of discussion. But that's kind of the format we're going to go with this, viewers. We're going to do a positive and a negative from each of the hosts, and we'll see where that takes us. So Jesse, kick us off. What is your first positive?
My first positive. I will say that.
And this is just surface
level, but Steppenwolf looks so much better in
the Zack Snyder Cut. I think when I first saw the shots, I was like, it's too much, it's too busy. But actually seeing it, watching it happen, and especially like just the coloration on the metal and everything, I was like, all right, he is much more intimidating than I was expecting that image to be, and that really worked for me.
Oh, I completely agree. It was an amazing upgrade. He actually looked alien this time, and I thought the same thing with the armor, like constantly shifting and stuff. But by God, it worked perfectly. I was scared of him. And while we're on it, not only the design, but just his storyline. And be warned, guys. I mean, Justice League came out a while ago here. We're spoilering everything you see here, this is spoiler filled. I should have given a warning beforehand, but we're jumping all around. We're talking about it. But what do you think about his story too? I mean, that line where Darkseid tells him, yeah, spoiler alert, Darkseid's in the film too. Where he tells him like he's got like 10,000 more planets before they're even before he erases the debt he's owed. Like they really dug into the whole apocalypse hierarchy and what Steppenwolf means, which I felt was really lacking from the theatrical release.
I agree to set that up, but I feel like they never delivered on his backstory.
Yeah.
They set up the cost and what the balance was or whatever, but we never learned what caused him to be in that debt.
It was. Oh no! I guess I should have watched it again. Wasn't it because of his loss on Earth the first time?
He didn't
Who's on Earth?
I'm gonna take your word for it.
This is why we used to get into fights.
They changed that backstory scene.
Darkseid is the one who loses in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
Steppenwolf loses, and that made sense. They never said what his blunder was or his flaw of it.
Okay.
If they did, I missed it.
Yeah, then I did too. I guess I just assumed. Now thinking back, they didn't show him, but I just assumed he was there. But actually, you saying that he wasn't makes more sense because one of my complaints was how Steppenwolf didn't realize that Earth had the anti-life equation. So that makes more sense if he wasn't there for that original battle. All right, Shawn, any thoughts on Steppenwolf?
I want to say, wasn't it 50,000 worlds? And then that made it
probably.
even worse.
Something like that. It was a ridiculous number. And even Steppenwolf in that moment he's like, I'm never going to repay this. Like, this is ridiculous.
I've seen a meme of him having these big chibi eyes, looking like he's about to cry from that exact moment. And I got to admit, like, we actually watched a little bit of the theatrical one, and it is night and day when you see what they did on the Snyder Cut for the character visually. Like, when I first saw the photo, I was the same way. I'm like, too busy, way too busy. This looks like the Destroyer at the end of Thor turned up to 20. And I felt like that worked well enough. And this is just everything spiky because it's Zack Snyder. It's got to be epic and nihilistic. But it really wasn't. Like, I kept thinking about it through the movie. Like, Steppenwolf is just a man that wants to go home.
Yeah.
That is his story to a T. And the fact that he comes up against, the greatest heroes that Earth has for DC, and he ends up getting killed at the end and all that. It's like,
yeah,
damn, that was actually something I didn't expect to feel, but I actually felt bad when his head gets sent through the portal and Darkseid just crushes it. I'm like, my God, dude, like,
yeah,
you didn't have to even go there, but you did, so I was impressed. I was impressed by they made him like a force of nature in this one. Mm-hmm. And in the other one, I heard reviews saying he looked like a PlayStation 2 boss villain, and I agree completely because after seeing that version and then watching the other one tonight, like we did, there's no way around it. Like I gotta, as much as I'm not the biggest Zack Snyder guy, things like that make me go, it works, and his vision of that actually makes sense, and just like his casting actually makes a lot of sense with a lot of these characters too. But very surprised by how well Steppenwolf was received by me in 4 hours worth of this movie. Yeah,
ain't that the truth? All right, if we're good on Steppenwolf, Shawn, what's your positive?
I'll just go to the one that I talked about the most when Jesse and I watched it just a little while ago, The Flash. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Flash in the original. They had him too bumbly, he was the comic relief. And I don't feel that really works for the character because in my head and the way that I've always understood it, the Flash, Wally West Flash can be a little more the jokester. He can be the one with the quips. He can be more the comic relief. But Barry Allen Flash is a lot more serious. And the moments in here where they dealt with him not being Wally and he was able to be Barry were the parts that I got the most. Like I actually got goosebumps watching some of the scenes, and they're right there at the end of the movie. You get to see, him. His whole storyline with his father is still intact, where he's trying to get his dad out of prison, and he's trying to show Dad, I'm trying to do the right thing here. And then you have that moment at the end where it's like, okay, all bets are off, all the chips are down. Literally, they've lost. Which I like that. I love that part of the movie because I love that no matter what they did, they lost. And it was only one person who actually pulled them from the brink, which was Barry, and his little positive talk to himself in that moment has to be one of the best things that Zack Snyder has given us on a superhero movie to date. Because his, Dad, I want you to know I was the best of the best, and and make your own past, make your own future. And it's like, I'm getting chills just remembering how that goes, because that was probably the best moment Zack Snyder's delivered of this is how a superhero should be feeling. This is what he should make you feel to watch them in action, because I'm not only in awe, but I'm also just cheering for that guy like crazy. So kudos to Ezra Miller on his Flash in this, as well as amazingly Zack Snyder for letting it do that, for letting it be hopeful.
I will say that in the end battle when Barry reverses time to keep them from losing and give the extra time that Cyborg needs was a good scene. I still don't like this Flash though. And this cut did nothing to change that for me. He like you said, he's too bumbly, when Barry Allen gets his Flash powers, he is supposed to be he's a teacher, he's a mentor, Barry has always been a do-gooder, he excels in his field even before he has his powers. Like he's a good person. He does well in this Ezra Miller, and I can't really say Ezra, because Ezra's only doing what the script asked of him. But I just felt the whole characterization was wrong, and I mean, to me, it was even past Wally West. It was. Actually, it popped in my head earlier today thinking about it. He's more like I would imagine Bart Allen coming back from the future. Like, that's the Flash that I saw there. And to me, that's just not Barry. So I'll give you that end scene, but I'm not budging on I don't like this Flash. Especially with... And nothing against you, Shawn. Especially with having Grant Gustin's Flash out there. And that's done so well, I think more so in the right direction. So, Jesse, you got some stuff to say.
Well, I do, and we're not going to go into the show, but I do like
Grant Gustin's portrayal of Barry and that more serious take on him. I said to Shawn when we were watching the last half of the Snyder cut that I was like, I don't necessarily feel like he's playing Barry, but I like the character he's playing. Except for the whole scene with the hot dog in the car.
Thank you.
Like that moment, but I like that they tone down him trying to bro out with Cyborg.
Yeah.
Like I said to Shawn, when they do that fist bump at the end, that feels so much more earned and not the payoff to a joke. And yeah, I really enjoyed the portrayal. Again, I don't necessarily feel it's Barry. I don't have as strong a tie to that character in general to have too strong of the other. But I like what he brings to this movie, especially this version that Shawn was saying, that whole end moment. And even the moment in the ship when they bring Clark back to life. and the whole scene kind of fumbles a little bit with the you say one or no, or
Right.
go or no. Like I really liked what they did with him. How he's younger, he's more unsure of himself and the powers, and he's just trying to make friends and trying to figure out what he's supposed to do with his life.
Shawn, rebuttal?
I can't argue with either of you on the Ezra Miller take on it, because honestly, I'm right there with both of you, unfortunately, where I'm saying this isn't my Flash. But what I am applauding in this, and that's the main thing of the main thrust of the why it is my positive, is just the fact Zack Snyder is not a typically hopeful movie maker.
Right.
There's not a lot of that in his movies. It's pretty dark, gloomy, for the most part. There's moments here and there, but this was the first moment that I've ever seen flat out. Wow, he's doing something that makes you, as a fan, whether you like this take on Flash or not, just the fact that this is the most superhero hopeful moment that I've seen in this movie, and it really got me. Like, if you can get me in those moments, there's a pretty good chance I'm actually going to be like, that actually wasn't bad, because I had an emotional reaction in this movie, versus sitting there through Man of Steel going, when is this going to actually work for me? And none of it worked for me the way that I was expecting as a Superman fan.
Okay. Nope, I'll give you that. That end scene was very, very well done. I'll give you that. So.
I won.
You win.
I won that one.
My greatest positive watching this movie was the fact that the resurrection of Clark Kent, the resurrection of Superman, it felt natural this time because of the extended cut. You got Bruce's thinking, where actually in the first parts of that movie, they were not setting out to resurrect Superman. Whereas in the theatrical release, it felt like right away Bruce is like, we gotta get Superman back. And you're sitting there going like, wait, what? Why? Like, for me, I need the story. You can't just jump into it where all of a sudden Bruce is like, let's bring him back. And you're going like, why would Bruce even think he can be brought back? But the way this one played out with, them meeting, they met Flash, they met Cyborg, they found out about the mother boxes and, trying to catch up with Steppenwolf, who's already collecting them. And then once Bruce realizes how the mother box saved Cyborg, then he's like, wait, if it could save Cyborg, could it bring Superman back? And it really just felt like a good story this time. Whereas before you're thrown in and you're like, why are we trying to resurrect Superman? Why do we think this will work? What? It just felt like, because it felt like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, not Prince of Thieves, Men in Tights, he gets another shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what should we do? Oh, well, the script here says we need to resurrect Superman. All right, let's resurrect Superman.
Because story. Yeah.
Because story.
Right.
This one felt very earned. Like, you got how Bruce connected those dots, and he's like, wait a minute, we can do this. We can bring him back. Because his initial thrust in this story was to get this group of heroes to replace Superman because he was gone. And then once they realized they could add him too, it flowed so much better, and I actually found myself caring about it.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Rebuttals?
I totally agree with that. The natural way they come to that and discuss it. I like that he's got this hope that it's like pardon the expression, it's like Bruce had a come to Jesus moment at the end of Batman v Superman. And in the theatrical cut, like, he's already out on the mission field, like, trying to make converts. In this, it feels more natural of him processing through what he's doing. I said to Shawn,
because there's the scene at the end where
buy the farmhouse back for Martha and everything. And I was like, I just feel like he's been so focused on his team that he hasn't paid attention to anything else to realize that she got kicked out. Right. You know, that's why he didn't stop the thing from going into foreclosure in the first place. So that's my justification. He's so focused on this mission, and then finding out they're like, oh, we can resurrect Superman, and he goes all in on it, like immediately. I actually wrote it down in my notes when he's talking to Alfred. Alfred, like you can't start the whole. If you can't bring it down, don't wave the red cape. And Bruce says, "You do when it's this red cape. You do when this cape charges back." And I was like, "Oh, I love that moment. I love that line."
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, real quick, since you brought it up, Alfred and Bruce, those scenes were just amazing. Alfred and everybody. Alfred and Superman, Alfred and Wonder Woman. I mean, yeah, we'll go for a little bit of a cheat twofer there. But yeah, having Alfred so much more present in this, really it helped the Batman angle, it helped the story angle, it really helped push it to the next level for me, seeing, you know, just a normal everyday butler interact with these gods, and just him not even caring either. He's just like, oh yes, you know, we can, you know, just talking to him like they were one of Master Bruce's friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they all come into the Batcave or whatever, he does kind of, as they all walk by, kind of looks at Aquaman. It's like, don't drip on the carpet. You know?
Shawn?
Let's see. I actually, even like for the resurrection part, even the staging of Lois worked better for me. I like that in the story they established, okay, every day she goes and gets a coffee and she'll bring it to Jimmy Olsen, who's now a cop, and he's in his 60s now, because that was Mark McClure from the Superman Christopher Reeve movies, which was I like that.
Oh, was it? I didn't even know
that was Jimmy Olsen or Marty McFly's brother, whichever one you want to go with. And I like that they went there, because he is somebody that I honestly, there was a symbolism to him being the cop at Superman's tomb in that way. Like, there was that feeling of he's still here, Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder or not, at least he was there at the grave. And that was touching for me from enjoying those movies. But I like that they even established her routine, so that when all hell breaks loose and there's Superman showing up again, she's there on the scene, and it's not just a ploy of Batman to bring her there to make it that now. One of my biggest issues with Superman in these movies is Lois Lane tethers him to humanity, and he has nothing else going for him to make him feel like the humans matter. It's always got to be about Lois.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed how that worked. And then I liked how, again, their plan went wrong. Yeah. So once again, you know, it's like that mirrored the ending of the movie, because here's the Flash pulling it off at the end of this, because he managed to go fast enough to actually reverse the drop just enough. Right. And you got that little taste of, oh, he's going to travel time. Maybe he's going to have to reverse something. And even the sequence, I mean, that's probably one of my favorite action sequences in the entire film, is after he comes back and you see him go toe to toe with everybody, and you see everybody is like, oh crap. And that isn't me doing a power play about Superman. That's just me enjoying the fact that you have, you know, like you have Aquaman being their Wolverine, wanting to fight him the whole time, but then he's like, you know, whatever came back isn't really him. It's his powers in his body and all that. Right. And you have Wonder Woman trying to reason with him. You have the Flash, who's scared to death of him, because I love that sequence where he's in slow motion and Clark just looks over his shoulder and Flash has that face. And even Batman, it was fun to see Batman actually going like, oh God, he's coming after me now, and I got nothing else to protect me, because Wonder Woman just got taken out.
Yep, that whole scene was great. It just, even the I don't know if I'm just, because I have not gone back and watched the theatrical release since I originally saw it. I did not see it in theaters. It was well after it came out on DVD. But from what I remember, like Star Labs did not feel as present in the theatrical release, unless I'm mistaken. So to see them like they had to go to Star Labs to get the mother box and then go to the monument, and like you said, Lois just being there, it all made a lot more sense. Whereas in the theatrical release, I remember during that part, I'm like, well, how do they have this stuff? And like it seemed very murky, like where they were and how they got this stuff, and they just were kind of like I said, it just felt like the script narrated, and they like show up with all this stuff and they're ready to go, So, but one of you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong about the theatrical release, about Star Labs and all that.
No, I mean it's there.
It's basically
just a location for the mother box to have passed
to come hunting for it
through, for the parademons to come,
people from like,
and to have taken people from like. It's definitely more of a piece of the story in this one, and not just a set.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And the mother box part actually is a better moment for Steppenwolf and Victor's father compared to in the theatrical.
Absolutely.
It basically is he beams down, grabs the box, beams back up, and they're like yoink. It was very much like a Scooby-Doo moment in the theatrical compared to there actually is more stakes the way they set the Snyder cut up.
I don't even remember Victor's father in the theatrical release. Was he? Technically?
He was not involved in that sequence at all, no.
Okay.
Because I think the last time we see him is when they save him from Steppenwolf in the
Striker Island. And
okay.
End of the movie
when Cyborg like remakes his form.
Right. Okay. All right, negatives. Shawn, you start us off this time. What was one negative of the Snyder Cut for you?
Oh, there's one that I want to say, but I feel like it's so minute compared to another one I want to say, so I'm really having a hard time. All right, I'll go with the smaller one because one of you might take the other one. I'm thinking. Okay, it wasn't a negative. With the detail, but the Man of Steel theme, and they have that little piano melody that comes in. It's this gentle do 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 and all that. And every time that comes into the movie, there is a part of me that kind of like I love that. The problem is it's relying on you caring about what happened to him in the previous movies. And I know I'm going to be the guy that is that way about it, but my biggest problem with that is it's making me mourn that this movie never had a foundation in the other movies for me to give a crap about that. And I feel like it's a wasted opportunity that could have mattered. That could have been something. Even the moment when he's coming out of the fortress after getting the black suit and his theme kicks in again, and there's that feeling of I should be pumped here. I should actually be like on the edge of tears. You're hearing his father, Jor-El, and Jonathan both having their time to fly, son. We loved you, son, and all, and nothing for me. It was so hollow of a moment every time they did that little theme, and it really had me going like this movie has always had a foundation of sand, not a foundation of concrete with how they presented anybody previously. So any emotional reaction they wanted to have of me liking Superman or Batman usually fell on its face, whereas Wonder Woman, because her movie worked well, I enjoyed that, and Cyborg and Aquaman and Flash, I was more on board with them than I ever was for the main two marquee names that this movie should be centered around. So that for me is always going to be a huge negative. Like I love those themes. I love that little piano bit. I love all that kind of stuff. But no, it really is hollow. It makes me depressed when I hear it more than feeling energetic that Superman is there or whatever.
Right. No, I completely agree. They did nothing in those first movies to set anything up, and I think that I'm just gonna go with my negative right away because I think it flows right into that. It's the message of hope that the hope is lost that they try and slam down your throat in the beginning of the movie. How the the world is mourning the loss of Superman. We see London, and they've got the Superman banner on the bridge.
Yeah.
And like all around the world, they're showing how hope is lost, all this and that, and it's like, but you didn't. Superman was never a symbol of hope in these movies. And so by not setting it up in Man of Steel and Batman Superman, it's hollow. Like you said, it's hollow. It does not ring true that the whole world's like, oh no, we've lost a great hero, because he's never been a great hero. He's never been the Boy Scout that Superman should be. The guy that the whole planet knows he will do the right thing no matter what. You never got that. So with them going here and saying, the only thing that gets you caring about the death of Superman is your history of the comics, our history of the animated series. Like, they are just preying on our previous investment with Superman outside of the movies.
Yes.
But if you want this to ring true and you want us to actually come into the beginning of this movie feeling like the chips are down, our backs are against the wall, we're hurting as a planet, you had to have done something earlier.
Exactly.
There's no other way around it.
Yeah. This is always going to just bug me. It's always going to be that way. There was actually a point I had too, which annoys me, and now I'm like, I'm going red in the face because I don't remember what the point was. But no, like it's show don't tell, and don't expect your audience to ever come to this prepared with their homework when you should be doing that on the big screen. Because what defines this Superman from Christopher Reeve? Because the main thing that this is what I remember. I just remembered it. I said it to Jesse when we were watching earlier too. I'm like, this Superman is nothing but a reactionary superhero. And he does knee-jerk reaction, like in Man of Steel. The Kryptonians come and threaten his mom. What's his reaction? He just beats the living bejesus out of Zod, and then he has to fight all these other Kryptonians, and he puts other people's lives on the line because he just reacts. Same with when he's fighting Zod in Metropolis. He's reacting to Zod. He's not actually formulating anything that makes you go, Superman has a plan to try to stop this guy. It's, I'm going to punch you as hard as I freaking can. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to keep doing it. He did that even at the end of the movie with Steppenwolf. That's basically the reason that they wanted to bring him back. They're like, dear God, we need to have somebody that just punches him a bunch. Because that's what he does. He shows up, he breaks the axe, and then he just starts punching Steppenwolf. And I actually felt bad for Steppenwolf because I felt bad that the guy just wanted to go freaking home. And here he's getting his face rearranged by Black Suit Superman. You know, it's no, you can't rest this laurel of he represented hope. Well, how? Because what did he do in any of those movies other than react in not the greatest of ways? He didn't think anything through. It was an emotional, like Batman v Superman. Oh, well, I have Martha. They're going to kill her if you don't kill Batman. What's he going to do? He goes to try to kill Batman because that's what Lex Luthor told him. Right. He didn't come up with another solution. He didn't use his wits. He just used his brawn. He's like, well, I guess that's what I got to do because they told me. You know, and like that was one of the lowest moments in Superman history for me, was him going, you know, there aren't any good men anymore or whatever. He says the lowest in that. And I was like, this is Superman?
Go ahead, Jesse.
So, yeah.
I know you got thoughts.
No,
It's kind of
it's not specifically the music cues.
But I totally agree with that. It's tied to this. This isn't my negative. He's still reacting to Sean's negative, but it's kind of is the most amazing thing with Martha in this movie is freaking Martian Manhunter.
Yes.
As cool as it was to
See him in this movie,
even though was have this beautiful conversation with Lois, and when they revealed that it was Martian Manhunter in the hallway, I just like threw up my hands and I was like, all right, that's stupid because she was kind of like not a great character in the theatrical version of Martha.
Right.
And I really loved the connection they had in that scene talking about needing to move on and all of that. And it was like, it felt like they were earning it.
And then they just ripped the carpet right out from under me. And it's like,
why does Martian
Manhunter know to have the
conversation
that way?
Right, unless he's...
Was there another scene that didn't happen where he played Lois to Martha and like picked up what Martha would have said to her? Like I have no idea why that scene worked. If they would have just let it be the two women having that talk about a loved one they lost, that they shared a loss over, it would have been so much better.
No, I completely agree. And the only thing is, unless Jean was reading Lois's mind and figuring out what she needed to hear, but then that's like, you know, he's just not that kind of character who would just probe a mind without, you know, I mean, unless it's a villain, without permission. So again, it destroys the character. And the biggest part for me was, you're showing me that, you know, John Johns is there that early. Where the hell was he at the end when they're getting their asses kicked?
Yep.
Why didn't he?
Where was he in BVS? Where was he in Man of Steel?
Right. Why didn't he?
I know where he was.
Yeah, they said that.
Guy.
That's what I heard. I heard he was supposed to be that military guy. I can't even remember which one it was supposed to be, but yeah.
Swanwick, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, same thing. It's like that totally ruined. So Martian Manhunter just sat there throughout all of this and was like, nope.
There might be fire involved. I'm out.
Right. All right, well, they beat Steppenwolf, so I guess I'll go tell Bruce if he needs anything. You know, I might show up later.
Your parents would be proud, and because
yeah. No, I completely agree. That just ruined the Martian Manhunter in this universe for me. It's like, if he can just sit by and watch all this happen, you know, no.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
My actual negative,
if I may. Because that was still like bounced off of the...
Yeah, that was all Sean's negative.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And maybe this is
nitpicky, but
I love the action with Amazon in their the cage or whatever they call it, the bunker,
the temple, whatever.
The mother box.
Yeah.
I think that scene plays out so much better in this for the most part.
Plays out so much better
about it. But the fact that watch Steppenwolf with a boom tube, seal the doors and trigger this mechanism that's going to make it fall off the cliff into the ocean and sacrifice their lives nobly. It's all well and good, except for the fact they just saw him teleport in from nowhere.
Right.
Like, it was like if they had shown something him inside where he destroyed something that he brought it down and he killed them knowing he could escape, that would have been more tragic. This just felt like you just killed all this for no reason. Like when I thought Cyborg's dad died for nothing, and then they realized, no, he sacrificed himself to turn that into a tracker. It wasn't just trying to destroy it and he failed. Good, at least they redeemed that.
Yeah, and honestly, that whole like, our last ditch effort is to throw it into the ocean. It's like, well, okay, I hope the Atlanteans never come and try and steal the mother box, because that would be perfect for that. Like that's your only resort. You have an island full of women, and your only plan is, if all else fails, throw it in the ocean. Like someone can't recover it from the ocean.
Right. Like the whole point is just to trap him so they could get away long enough to get away. It's like, where were they going to go? They never leave the island. Where were they taking the mother box that he wasn't going to be able to just get to? It was such a waste of lives.
Yep. Nope, I agree. Although that scene is fun with them riding on horseback and throwing it.
The scene is great.
Yeah.
Just the
cliff
part.
Well, that scene kind of blew my mind, because you have freaking Steppenwolf throwing horses in this one instead of in the original one. he was going easy on him compared to when you see what he's pulling in here to get the box back. And I was like, the first time that you see him throw a horse, I was like, oh, he's doing that now. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's his like special move in this version.
Yeah.
Hadouken, here's a horse.
No, that's
They definitely
The violence and the R rating.
earn the violence and the R rating. It's not just gratuitous violence like Logan or Deadpool, where they just throw it in to make that rating work. Like
all the excess bloodshed I felt visually was worth the sacrifice. And that scene where the women are all damsels are all climbing up on him, trying to like hold his arm back.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't even want to high five any of those ladies in fear that like it would shatter my shoulder or something. You know? So all of them teaming up on him, it was just an impressive.
No, I completely agree. That was that, and I think that
right?
Yeah, negative into a positive. But no, I think it's another scene that just helped by the, like we said earlier, it ties back into Steppenwolf being a force in this one, more fleshed out, looking better. Because that scene in the original theatrical, if I'm not mistaken, was like the first time we really saw Steppenwolf, and then there was kind of, honestly, the whole thing kind of felt like a lame jog across the mascara, and in this one, it actually felt like, no, this is like Shawn said, they're throwing horses and massive casualties, and they're really giving everything they've got to try and hold him off, so that really came up. It really brought up the scene. It's all tied back into Steppenwolf just being a force in this one.
Absolutely.
So I think we probably. I know I have another positive. You guys both have another positive.
I'm sure I have a positive and some more negative too. I can work either way.
Let's do one more positive at least. And I'm gonna throw it. Obviously, the big. I didn't start off with this one because I thought someone else would get it, and I'm sure you're all thinking about it. It's the big elephant in the room, and that is the Cyborg character and his arc and his story that was completely missing from the theatrical release. This one made me give a damn about Cyborg. It made me mourn along with him, and I mean, he was just the conflict he was going through just over his own loss with his mother and his body and his potential football career, his whole life. You know, it's like I'm alive, but nothing that I used to do I can do anymore. And then to lose his father like that, and just his whole this Snyder Cut was really the Cyborg story, and it really shows you why Ray Fisher was so upset after the original theatrical release, because, and this is the way it should be. It should set up, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, which, granted those movies weren't great, but they were set up coming into this. I still think they should have set up Flash coming into this with his own movie, and then this would have been the introduction to Cyborg. And they've done this a lot of times. They did it, I think, even back in the Super Friends, they had an episode where Cyborg was introduced. Very much the New 52 Justice League, Cyborg was kind of at the center of that, especially with his ties to Apocalypse. And he is kind of the perfect entry, or the gateway person for us viewers to experience his story through. It really should be the Cyborg story, and I thought it was just executed perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was pretty shocked by how much the story changed by adding in what they did with him, and I honestly they really did flesh out a character that was very, very paper thin for me, and he was just basically. I know they were saying like some of the things about Joss Whedon. It was there's possible racism involved, and when you see the portrayal that he did in that cut, there was more of like let's make him an urban angry youth. And in this one, you could definitely tell it was not aimed to be that. It was, here is Victor Stone. This is what he's up against, and even having those moments where you get to see inside of him and he's whole again. and he's getting to see all the things he can do to manipulate the world based on he's now attached to everything from an electronic standpoint, from an internet and a wireless standpoint. It's like, yeah, I liked adding to yours. I know this is a divisive scene, but I liked it when he helped the single mom, the waitress. And I know you had issues with that. And I know I've talked to other people, but there's that element of that was one little moment that made me go, it showed that he cared. It showed that he wasn't a man of just electronics. He sees somebody that's down on their luck and he's just like, I want to help them. No, it was not the greatest idea.
It showed he cared, but
it showed he cared.
There's no way that bank's not going after that single mom, and she's gonna have like felony charges brought against her and everything else for hacking into the system and stealing all that money. So
it's the Snyderverse. You got one hopeful moment, and then he wants to crush it down again so that we can have nihilism all over the place.
No, I agree. I
don't think I realized how this is not wrong, how vanilla the theatrical cut version of him was, and I'm not talking racial coloring here.
Right.
But, like, he was a slightly, like Shawn said, like a slightly off, angry urban youth, like,
right,
and got over that fairly quickly. And you know, I liked him from the beginning in that version until I saw the Snyder cut. I was like another character in a different universe that has become my favorite. I didn't like him at first in this movie. I was like, man, he has got a real, not that he doesn't have a right to be, but I was like, I don't enjoy where he's at right now.
Right.
By the time we come to the end of the movie, I'm like, yeah. Like, he has that scene with the, whatever, the spirits or the Desaad, like, priestess things where they're disguised as him and his parents. And they're like, oh, my boy, you don't have to be alone anymore. And then he's like, I'm not broken. I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. And they all start to, like, turn into their real selves. Like, that's giving me goosebumps right now because, you know, you know, and I was like, so, like, I'm glad I didn't like him at the beginning. I didn't like that they gave him such an arc, and it wasn't just I'm the angry guy, but by the end, yeah, I'll do that fist bump because you're okay now, Flash. Like,
no,
they do so much better with him in this.
Yeah, he was literally broken, and he had to accept who he was now, that he couldn't go back, but that he still had something to offer. And you know, he's so misguided. He's so angry at his father for which he had every right to be, honestly. But at the end, but then to lose him like that, and him and Victor realize, like, you know, he was the last family I had, and I spent my last day or his last days just being angry at him. And then at the end there, when he puts the recorder back together and listens to the end of the message and realizes, like, you know, no matter what, at the end of the day, my dad loved me to death, and he only did this to me because he couldn't stand being without me. Like, that scene hit me. That scene hit me in the feels because, you know, and there's nothing he can do. That's the other thing. I like that they, you know, there's so much. There's always that temptation, especially in superhero movies and fantasy movies, to right all the wrongs at the end and find some way to, you know, bring somebody back or whatever. But at the end of the day, in this movie, Victor's just got to live with it. And that's the kind of realism I like in these kind of movies. Like, they can be big, fantastic, but at the end of the day, there can be some consequences without it being, you know, Man of Steel, doom and gloom, everything sucks. You know, these are just real. Sure. This is just growth, and this is how he has to deal with it from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Victor. All right.
I guess you want me to do another positive quick?
Yep.
I'll go with Zack Snyder's casting.
Okay.
because basically everything else, the high point for me is still going to be the Flash reversing time bit.
Yep.
But like on a really impressive note, the cast he assembled for every movie leading up to this one works for me on most levels. It's the writing. So it's like, okay, Pa Kent, Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams, boom, done. You know, Henry Cavill, dude looks like Superman. There's no way that man does not look like Superman.
Absolutely.
I was beyond impressed with Ben Affleck Batman. I actually said after I watched this version that I said to my wife that night, I'm like, I honestly think Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman of all time right now.
Yeah, if only he'd got an actual Batman movie.
Agreed.
Ugh.
But we'll have to see what Robert Pattinson does in the coming year or so with his Batman, the Batman. But I mean, how can you look at Wonder Woman and not see Gal Gadot anymore? She just is that woman. I'm positive was born in Themyscira. You know, like Jason Momoa. If there was somebody who could make Aquaman not look the way that he was stereotypically, it's typically within like the geek community, the comic community. Everybody thought it was a joke all the time that, oh, Aquaman, he talks to fish. Well, how do you fix that? You put Jason Momoa in it. You know, and I mean, the only person I'll give you that Ezra Miller is still like it didn't quite work for me, but he sold those hopeful moments that I enjoyed at least. But yeah, even Jeremy Irons, Alfred, that was awesome. It's like the last two times I've had Batman, both versions, Michael Caine and Jeremy Irons, were some of the reasons where I'm like, sign me up because I want to see what they do because that is a role that really does affect Batman, and it's an emotional core to that character. And in both cases, with both of their ways of handling it, I thought both actors did a really good job. But Jeremy Irons, I liked how he was really he was complicit with him through this one quite a lot, and I really enjoyed that back and forth and stuff. So yeah, casting wise, I think Zack Snyder really does have a great handle on a lot of these characters. It's whether or not he's got the script to handle those characters properly is the thing.
Yeah. The only one I'll not disagree with you, but I'm still not convinced of, and I know everybody loves him, but Jason Momoa as Aquaman, I still he's too Khal Drogo for me. I can't. I want that stereotypical Aquaman. I want the. I don't know. They're just he's too surfer. He's too, like I said, Khal Drogo. I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, I still haven't watched that movie. By the way, I have not been able to. I fall asleep in like the first 15 minutes of that movie every time I try and watch it.
Okay, so I'm gonna pose the question to you then, because me personally, I don't need a recasting of Aquaman based on what they've done to this point. Who would you like to see as your traditional blonde hair, blue eyed Aquaman as the comics represent?
I have no idea. I'm just saying. I have nobody else to put in that role, and I will give you that. I don't necessarily want a recasting, but beyond Ezra Miller, he's the most like WTF of the castings. Like, how do you look at because they just, like I say, he's just too Khal Drogo for me still. I can't get that character out of my mind. I know that's typecasting the guy, and I'm sorry for it, but that's just where I am. But I will agree, Ben Affleck is probably the best Batman, and we'll probably get, unless some miracle happens, we're going to get the least screen time of any Batman from him. So that's probably the biggest loss of this Snyderverse, is not getting a true Batfleck movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say is casting goes, I'm on everybody. The room
is off. Aquaman, the thing that throws me off the most in this movie is
the contact.
At least in his regular movie, his eyes only go white like that when he's using powers and stuff. It's not constant. Like, dead stare.
that he's got.
My biggest issues with the casting are Amy Adams and Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh yeah, I didn't even.
You know why I
Jesse.
forgot them? Because I don't like them.
I'm not going to go on a rant on either of them because I think Amy Adams is a fantastic actress. I think she is
Wasted on the
Yeah.
Anything in her performance
is
Lois
Lane.
Right.
I'm
I'm not going to go down that road.
But yeah. Otherwise, I'm 100% with you on casting, except for those two.
Yeah, no, Jesse Eisenberg is a waste of space. I don't know whoever signed off on that. They have obviously never read a Superman comic in their lives because he is just terrible.
The thing about him, it was the expectation angle from my perspective on Lex and him playing it. Because when you saw Social Network, there was that element of, okay, now we're going to get evil Zuckerberg fighting Superman. But then when you see how he played that role, he didn't do anything like Zuckerberg. He just went in there and said, I'm going to make as many weird twitches and all these things that make you just go like, what the hell is wrong with you? You're like, all you had to do was just play Zuckerberg and make it that you are a mental and psychological threat and an intellectual threat to Superman. That's all you got to do. Yeah. You don't have to turn it into weirdness, but you did.
See, that's the thing. Lex Luthor, he's the con man, he's the billionaire. I mean, he's a very confident, suave guy and very intelligent. So, I mean, and yeah, Eisenberg took it the whole wrong way. He took it. I could see Eisenberg playing is the Mad Hatter. That's who I could see him playing, little Jervis Tetch. That's more the vein he was in than anything related to Lex Luthor. So,
well, leading up to that movie, it was like Mark Strong was the one everyone wanted to see, and I didn't need to see that personally either, though. Like from a fan perspective.
Who's he play? Help me out.
He was Sinestro in Green Lantern. He was the bad guy in Shazam.
Oh yeah, that would have been a great Lex Luthor. Or at least better than Jesse Eisenberg.
No, it would have been better, but I actually would have liked to see somebody that you would have been like, oh, they're Lex Luthor. Versus, somebody you already know, because Mark Strong already broadcasts, I am, I'm a bad guy, and I would want to see somebody who's not that guy in that role, because the thing is, he becomes president in the comics. He has to have some suaveness and charm somewhere,
What about the guy who plays Jimmy Olsen on Supergirl?
McCad Brooks?
Yeah. He could be a good.
That would have been interesting. He lost his arms a couple weeks ago.
What?
It's Jack.
Oh, he played Jack. I haven't seen that yet. Have not seen Mortal Kombat yet. I know he's a good actor, and honestly, he kind of takes that role in Supergirl. I don't know if either of you guys have watched it, but he kind of becomes, through Catco, he becomes the CEO of it and everything. So basically, it just turned him evil, which I definitely think is in his wheelhouse. He could be a good Lex Luthor.
I wouldn't have minded
down
that.
The rabbit hole, but
sure.
I have one in mind from a video that Shawn shared with me a while ago, but we'll keep that in the rabbit hole.
But if I can throw out my next positive.
I want to hear your casting first, then throw out your positive.
Well, it's not
my casting. It's someone else much more established in things. And thanks to Sean that they've installed this video.
Max Landis's take on Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. I can't remember which one, but he suggested that Superman flies up to Luthor Court Tower, Lex Court Tower, and comes in the window, and Lex turns around, and it's Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
And I was like, I never would have picked that, but I love that choice. He's got that softness, he's got that charm, and he's a good actor. He could pull off the villain twist where you believe he's doing the right thing, and then people would believe he's doing the right thing, but he's wrong.
Road to Perdition.
Yeah, no,
that solidified. Like I was not believing he could pull that role off until I actually watched it, and I'm like, wow, this is proof.
Yeah, I like that. No, he could definitely pull off that. Yeah, I'm just everybody's friend, just a businessman trying to do some good.
He's like, no, not him. Look at how he talks to those kids. He's such a sweet guy.
Meanwhile, he's like,
It would be like if you cast Lex Luthor as Walt Disney.
Right.
If you put him in the role, like you picture him as all of these wonderful roles he's had. Yeah. Oh, he couldn't ever be evil. And then all of a sudden in the background, he has that look in his eye and he's holding a shard of kryptonite. He's just like, oh, yes, Superman. Sure, we're going to work together, or something like that.
Yeah. No, I completely. That's great casting. I love that. All right, Jesse, you're positive. What you got?
My positive
is
twofold.
It's the whole collaboration on the Arrow of Artemis scene, where
absolutely
the whole process of them firing the arrow into the Temple of Artemis, or whatever it was, is so much more. Shawn knows this about me. I love fantasy, like epic sword and sorcery fantasy stuff. So anything that rolls more into that wheelhouse, you get my attention. So Wonder Woman, all that mythic Greek stuff definitely gets me. So seeing the whole bringing that arrow out and the whole ritual behind it was great. And when she says, men won't know what it means, but she will. Like I get emotional thinking about that. And then you see the arrow, and she's just at work. And she sees the flame, she knows what it is, and she goes get that whole kind of Diet Tomb Raider sequence where she gets into the Metropolis and down underground and everything, and then you have the whole flashback story of when Darkseid invades. Other than Darkseid invading, I wish they would have left that as Steppenwolf, and that was his failure, and that's what he was making up for. Other than that, I love that expanded sequence. Seeing the getting see Ares in human form. Just a lot more of the story of the different cultures coming together and everything was just so much cool in this.
Yeah, and it was that great parallel between here's what it took back then to save Earth, and we need to do that now. And no, I love that. I messaged Shawn while I was watching, because I knew he'd watched it before me. When I was watching, I messaged Shawn during. I'm like, oh my God, they did it. Because we'd actually had conversations privately unrelated to Justice League about a similar concept about the old gods and the new gods and Green Lanterns and like how that can all be woven together. And then it's like sitting there and it's like, holy shit, they did it.
Yeah.
They nailed it. That is one of the best scenes of the movie there. You get to see, the existence of the Green Lanterns, all the forces of man and the Amazons and the gods and everybody just like, hey, there's something bigger than us. And it was just that great bookend of, this is the cycle. Where there are going to be these threats and people will rise up. And, that message of hope, which, they did a poor job of making us feel hope is lost, but by God, they delivered on, hey, where there is hope now.
Yeah.
I'll say the only part of that I don't like is the same I don't like in the theatrical version, even though it's expanded and there's more to it. When the different cultures take the mother boxes and bury them like the Atlanteans are studying it, and they the Amazons, they put it in that cave, that temple, that bunker, and they have their plan of what they're going to do if anyone comes for it, which we see play out earlier in the movie.
Right.
But the kingdoms of men, they're like, oh, we put it in this iron box. We're going to dig it a 5-foot hole. And there's like 80 of us here. We all know where it is.
Yep.
Bye.
Oh, God.
Like, that's my level of responsibility
with something important. Like,
So what you're saying is they nailed it perfectly. That's exactly what a bunch of men would do. It's like, we just fought this battle. We're tired. We got a 5-foot hole. It's fine.
We're not carrying this anymore. Drop it.
Oh, and by the way, close your eyes when we walk away from here. We don't want anybody to know where we've been.
Right. Well, they got the blindfolds in the bat, and they spun themselves around 10 times.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
Now that scene would have paid off more if, like, the king executed everybody that was there. He wrote off. No.
Like, that's brutal and horrible, but like
Right. It would have made more sense.
Secret.
No, I agree. I agree completely.
Yeah.
But
That's my positive. I love
like historical lore background stuff when they can show big epic battles and stuff. So.
Now, I think we hit most of our major points. I think we hit. We were going to do character call-outs next, but I think we hit just about everybody throughout there. So let me throw this out at you guys. The epilogue. Was it necessary, and did you enjoy it?
Jesse, you go first.
Don't everybody jump on this.
You look like you got to think about this for a minute.
Well,
I think I know what you think about it, but how you're going to say it.
I will say this.
And I'm pretty sure Shawn feels the same way, but I'll let him say it.
The movie should have ended with Clark ripping open the shirt, seeing the red, yellow, and blue.
Yes.
That should have been
100%.
That said, I have no desire to see this nightmare future play out ever again. I've read comments and things from Snyder and other people about what that story was going to be. There's even a little hint in the actual movie when you see the pregnancy test in Lois's dresser. I'm like, I don't want that world. Like Shawn said, Lois is more than Clark's tethered to humanity.
Yep.
He's our own person, not a plot device. And I don't like that concept. That said, I know this is going to be a very controversial statement. I don't dislike Jared Leto's Joker.
All right, this show's over. I'm sorry, guys. I can't do this. I'm out. I kid. Go ahead.
No. That's
I'm not saying I don't like his portrayal in Suicide Squad. I like that he did something different. But I am not a fan.
I am not a fan of the Joker.
I don't
like those types of villains. Like I said,
Mark Hamill in the animated series is the best version of the Joker.
Yes.
Heath Ledger, great performance. Lots of issues there. Not he has issues, right? Like it's all issues. Like there's no character there. It's just all raw nerves. And this it was different. I don't like most of what it says. I said to Shawn, we were watching that finale, I'm like, that's a line I never needed to hear from the Joker, Batman, or anyone. And just how neutered Batman is around him in that sequence. He's like, you better be careful what you say next. And he keeps going. He's like, that wasn't very careful. Like,
And that,
but maybe Batman and Joker have to work together
to go against Superman. Like, I'm intrigued
by that, but not enough to ever want to see that.
No. And I guess my biggest thing with it, I will agree Leto was better here. But again, like you said, the Batman I know would have punched him between the eyes when he didn't stop talking when Batman told him to. You know, I mean, Batman is that kind of character. He delivers with his threats. He's not just blowing smoke. But I guess my biggest thing about it is like I just said, you spent this whole movie building up hope. And then your final scene of the movie is, oh yeah, Superman goes evil and we have to fight him. It's like, you just built up, all the, Cyborg's growing arc, Flash's, doing something finally and not being a complete putz, Superman coming back and it's all undermined by, oh yeah, everything goes to shit anyways. And that is such That is such a Zack Snyder ending, but it's like the rest of the movie tricked me into thinking maybe he finally
Yeah.
got something right.
But at least it's just a dream. It's just a dream.
Yes and no. I mean, I think the Martian Manhunter made it pretty clear that those dreams he's having mean something, and obviously it's playing off the Injustice storyline. I mean, there's plenty of basis for this in the comics. So I don't doubt if the Snyderverse were to continue that it would end up in an Injustice timeline. And that's where he was eventually going with it, which is just a downer considering it's like you finally made me care about some of these characters and you just destroyed it. Shawn, you've been really quiet down there. Anything you want to say, buddy?
I think seeing that, I agree with Jesse completely. It should have ended with that ending of Clark looking up in the sky, ripping the shirt open, the red, yellow, and blue showing through. The show we have Superman back, and it's probably a better Superman than we've gotten through all the other movies to that point, which would have been great. Everything else after that point to me is just Zack Snyder doing this self elevating of what he was attempting to do with the whole series. And it's like, okay, if you want to do that, don't do it as your main continuity. Because this proved to me I have no interest in what you're going to give me if you'd ever get it further than this. I would be, okay, I'm done. Like, show me the individual movies. I'm out for a Justice League 2 or whatever. And it also goes to, yes, in Marvel, they do things in their movies to set up, if you watch this scene, it's a callback to something that happened in this. And, or if you're watching the movie for the first time, this could lead, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative.
Right.
That blew the roof off the joint because suddenly your mind is going crazy thinking of the future of this line. And in the case of what DC did or Warner Brothers did and Zack Snyder did, it just made me go, this is my closing the book on what you're doing with this line, because everything after this is going to just turn into a nightmare that I have no interest in living through. And again, I agree with your point, Matt, where it was, everything you did, you're undoing again. Yep. So why are you doing this? And it's not a place I need my heroes to be. I would prefer something a little more traditional with these characters, because what most audiences get is this version of these characters. They're not going to the comic books like we did when we were kids, because it's already on TV. It's on the movies and all this other stuff. And, they're watching these movies and they're thinking this is the greatest version of Superman because now he's dark, he's gritty. And it's like, then watch Superman and Lois and tell me what you think. I bet you any money you might like that too, because you know what? That actually has a handle on what he's about. And I don't know. Everything Snyder wants to do with the main characters is always, I have to make them as dark as possible because it's the only way I can relate to these things and make them work with what makes sense to me. And, the whole restore the Snyderverse hashtag that started out after this hit. Nope. I have no interest in any of that happening. And I hope to God Warner Brothers and AT&T and everybody else in charge goes, we're good. Because that whole the epilogue bit just had me going, I don't need this in my life, and I don't need people thinking this is the most awesome thing in the world anymore. Just, you got what you got. Can't you be happy there?
And I'll agree with that. Honestly, as I was watching through the 4-hour Justice League, towards the end there, I was actually thinking you know what? I wouldn't mind another movie to see where they go from here. And then that epilogue came up, and I'm like, nope, never mind. I don't want another one. Exactly. I'm good here because you just showed. See, and that's the difference. It wasn't, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative, which was just a little, oh my God, they could take this anywhere, or they could take it nowhere. They didn't even have to follow up on it necessarily. It could have just been a kernel that never developed. No, he had this full-blown epilogue that's like, no, here's where we're going. Everything sucks. It's great. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
So how about you, Jesse? Do you, another Snyderverse movie, or you're good to die here?
I'm good with it going to bed. He's had almost 10 hours of screen time with his characters.
Yeah.
Not counting the production credits on Wonder Woman and get production on Shazam and Aquaman 2.
Sorry, that's
He lives next to a firehouse. So yeah, hang on.
Welcome to Silent Hill.
Who you gonna call?
The firefighters.
Sorry, I'm surprised we didn't hear this earlier. Oh, and the cops.
I should have told him. I completely forgot to tell him because they've been quiet all night.
I forgot about it too. I'm so used to it until there's someone new in my apartment. I don't.
You know what? This is just the local fire company and the police stopping us from talking about this because even they're like, we don't need to go to this future of Zack Snyder's DC universe. We're good. Shut it down.
Let me check here. I don't think he had on. No, he was not on Shazam. I think he was on Aquaman, though. And I'm pretty sure he was on Wonder
I know he got production credits on the first Wonder Woman or story or something.
Let me check Aquaman.
Yeah, he and his wife had executive producer credits on that, I think.
Yeah, because they were kind of the Kevin Feige of the Warner Brothers DC stuff at the time.
While you're looking up, I'll just say, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I enjoyed this one as much as I did. It's got things I like. It's got things I don't. The theatrical got things I like and don't. It's kind of a mixed bag between the two. They're storyline wise, they're essentially the same.
Yeah.
They just a lot of details and
the character stories are different. But the overall arc of the story is pretty much the same.
So we're all good with this ending. What do you think they should do from here, though? Should we start completely over? Do we continue with Wonder Woman and Aquaman? Do we continue with Cyborg? What do you guys hope to see from? Because obviously DC is not going to let they'll let this universe die. They're not going to let the entire universe die. They're going to come out with something new. We got Robert Pattinson coming in as the Batman. I guess, do you guys want to see a full reboot or just kind of do Ben Affleck's out, Robert's in, keep Wonder Woman, Aquaman? What's your ideas?
I like the idea I'm hearing from them at the moment of it being they're going to focus on kind of a multiversal aspect of the DC universe.
So
they not necessarily all overlap and and part of it's duh, that's DC's bread and butter. Why was that not in your brain when you started all of this? Where you can start this thread. So is Wonder Woman 84, is that part of the same universe, or is that an alternate timeline?
Right.
At this point, it doesn't really matter. Aquaman 2, they've dealt with Steppenwolf at least enough. I mean, Mara has a British accent in this version.
Yeah.
It doesn't Aquaman. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. Justice League or a Scott Snyder version first or something. Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Scott Snyder wrote Justice League. Whatever. I'm excited. I'm intrigued to see what the Pattinson Batman is going to be like. I think he's a good actor. It looks like they're going to take him more down the detective route of Batman, which I like more than just punchy, gravelly voice Batman. I'm definitely intrigued by Aquaman and Shazam 2, Black Adam. I'm excited for.
That was good.
I don't have a lot of vested interest in Blue Beetle, but I'll give anything DC puts out in the theater a chance, unless I have some really, really, really compelling reason not to.
Fair enough. Shawn?
That's a hard question because I've actually asked myself that many times because, like, I don't want to see Gal Gadot leave Wonder Woman. I enjoy her, and even though Wonder Woman 84 wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders at points, it was still her. And, you know, like, it's almost the Superman 3 thing. Hang on. Did you hear? Are you picking that up now? The siren?
Oh, it's been the whole time, yeah. Since it started, yeah. Loud and clear.
Yeah, I forgot about this.
And my windows are closed. They are literally across the street from my building.
So,
Oh, wow.
so and that made it fun a couple times, or like if I would sleep on the couch here, that it's like, oh God, 6 a.m. I'm woken up like that. I'm like, I guess I better go home now. I want to see Gal Gadot stay as Wonder Woman because I mean, that's perfect casting on DC's part.
Right.
I like Momoa. I know you're not a fan. I like Momoa as Aquaman. I have no problem there. And Affleck, I really liked him. I'm kind of one of these people that I kind of want to jump on the give Henry Cavill another chance under a different director and better writers to do a legit Superman the way that Superman should feel, because that man, if you watch him in interviews, has this very charming assuredness, and he's got a very easy smile. That's what Superman should be bringing to the table. He should be bringing the humanity and this sense of you're okay. I have you. No matter what hell is unleashed around you, I'm here. I got you. Absolutely. And I think he could do that if he's given the right means to do it through the director and through the writing. But I don't know, at this point too, it's like, I'm good with anything that Snyder has to do here. Let's get away from that. So it's like, okay, the typical way that movie companies look at it then we reboot and then we recast. And then I'm like, well, that sucks for him. That sucks for both him and Affleck.
Right.
So I don't have a legit, this is what I want to see, but you know, I guess in the future, I would just love to see something that feels more, at least core to what I believe you could do with these characters and what they should feel like, compared to, you already know the shorthand. We're going to just do this now, the way that they did it in these movies in particular. So yeah, I guess if I had to choose between one or the other, I'd have to say I'd rather do a reboot and just let's start it from the ground up and maybe solidify that foundation, like I said, versus the sand of a foundation. But I would rather have them keep certain people who really do shine as those characters.
I agree. I think the softer reboot's the way to go. You know, fix what's needed. Don't necessarily be beholden to this past continuity, but if you've got an actor that's really working out or the audiences love, stick with them. You know, there's no reason not to. And so I'm curious, what is your guys' number one DC movie that has been released in this modern era? Not, you know, I don't want to hear no Batman 89s, nothing like that. That's in this modern era, you know, even past Nolan. I'm saying this like we talked about. So you got Aquaman, 2 Wonder Womans, Man of Steel, Batman, Superman, Justice League, and Shazam. I think that would be all of them.
And Suicide Squad.
And Suicide
Birds
Squad.
of Prey. Did you say Birds of Prey?
Oh, I forgot about
Birds of Prey.
Yeah. All right, what's your number one out of those?
This is actually a pretty hard
one to pick for me. I have 3 that are pretty closely tied, but I will give you a definitive answer in
Wonder Woman. Okay. Not surprising.
Again, it's the time period. I like the
historical setting. I like the journey she goes on. And as fun as Aquaman is, it doesn't hit me as emotionally hard as when she climbs up that ladder into no man's land. Like that gets me every single time.
I agree.
So much about that movie. I'm not going to go down that road. Yeah, Wonder Woman will be. I'll put it as my number one.
No, that's a great one. That's my number 2. So it's close, but that's my number 2. Shawn?
I gotta side with Jesse on this one because again, the No Man's Land sequence, the everything. First off, she embodies that character. Secondly, I love how everything in that movie leading up to No Man's Land was everyone saying no. Yeah. She can't do this. She can't do that. She can't do. And they went through the whole thing. And I love that Chris Pine doing the whole. These men have been in this trench for 9 months. You know, we have not moved anywhere. And you know, it's like you can't do this. It's No Man's Land. And the minute she takes off that cloak, and you see her, and she puts on the tiara, you're like, oh. And then the emotion from everything in that movie, not just that sequence, but everything in that movie, it put it on a whole nother level of what DC can do if they're given the chance to do something where the director gets it and where the writers get it and they have the right casting as well.
Yep. No, I completely agree. Wonder Woman is a great movie. It's my number 2, but I gotta say number 1 for me is Shazam. It's so much fun, and that is one character I felt they really nailed. I mean, especially for him being the start of getting his powers, you know, that's exactly how Billy would be. And just, you know, like you said, Wonder Woman's got some great emotion, some great story. So does Shazam. Like this little orphan kid who just, he doesn't want anything to do with anyone, and finally realizing that's really the power of family that's going to, you know, get him through all of this. And, you know, and that was one where DC just allowed themselves to have fun. They're like, okay, we got this kid that transforms into adult. What's he do? Well, first he tries to buy beer. Of course he does. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's just, we weren't so worried about the doom and the gloom, but then once everything kicked in with the evil spirits and Dr. Zhivago as well, like it's just, the stakes were high and he rose up to them. Savannah. Sorry. Who's Zhivago?
Dr. Zhivago's a 60s movie.
The 60s movie, yes.
With, I forget her last name. Christy is the last name.
Hey, it's late. Leave me alone.
It's all right.
Shazam, number 1.
No,
all right. Yeah.
It's number 2 for me. And, I mean, we talked about on Legends of Grayskull that one time, but it has one of my favorite iconic superhero moments next to the Wonder Woman bit with when Freddy's like, you know, Billy, supervillain, and he goes up on the roof and he jumps off yelling Shazam. I mean, my kids and I cheer every dang time we've seen that movie, which has been quite a lot.
Oh, absolutely. All right. I think we're getting to about the wrap up. Any last thoughts you guys want to throw out there about Justice League that we missed, got glossed over?
I'm just gonna re-up on the score, even though I really liked what Danny Elfman did. There are a couple choices with when the cues came in the music in this movie I didn't like.
The Amazon vocalization that like telegraphed Wonder Woman about to show up every time.
Yeah,
it's like they
played that too soon. I love that sound. I love that theme,
but it always came out too early. But
I agree.
Props to Wolfenberg, Junkie XL. I think between his collaboration with Hans Zimmer on Man of Steel and the other thing, I really like his score. Like I said, I like the John Williams theme coming in and the Danny Elfman Batman theme with the theatrical cut. And it would have been nice to have that worked in a little bit, but his stuff really fed the action. It really pumped up. Mad props
to the score on this.
I completely agree. Yep. Shawn?
I'll end it with 2 quickie deals. The one is I don't like creepy blonde ladies singing and spelling Aquaman's sweater because that moment made me go, what in the hell am I watching?
The Cult of Aquaman, absolutely.
The Cult of Aquaman, the most thirsty women alive, apparently. And I mean, no offense to women out there, but I watched that going, what is this? Why do we need this in this movie? And to add to that, the really quick one is, why so much slow-mo and why do we have to have a music video? I don't need the music video for The Flash. I don't need the music video of Aquaman. I mean, I know why they did it with him taking his shirt off, going, okay, fine. You know, you get the eye candy just like Thor took off his shirt in his movie. Cap had his shirt off in his Wolverine. But, you know, it's like, no, I don't want to sit through a 4-hour movie knowing this is how you're making it 4 hours.
Yeah.
You're making it 4 hours because most of 25% is slow-mo. We could have had it down to a 3-hour movie possibly if you get those up to the normal speed and just let the dang thing play. Because one of the big things that I really hate is if you're going to make something slow-mo, it means that nothing is important, because usually slow-mo is used to underline and the importance of something about to happen or in the process of happening. And when you have moments where it's just a man walking on a pier to jump off after he's taken a big long swig out of his alcohol, it's like, okay, because that was important to me at this point. Okay. And the hot dogs and dogs and Barry, and it's like, all right, whatever. Go
ahead, Jesse. Just cut him off, or he'll never stop.
No. I agree with you. Like, if you're going to use slow-mo in a movie where someone is a speedster, you're not only canceling out the important stuff, you're also undermining the importance of the speed sequences.
Yes.
All right, is this happening in slow motion, or is like? It's an effective thing.
Much you can do in this movie. It's just, you know, and like the 5-minute long Lois getting coffee scene. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
Singing about Aquaman. Shawn, when I watched this movie, I love Lord of the Rings. I love the scene in Return to the Towers when the extended cut, when Eowyn and the women are singing, you know, the Rohirrim song and everything. I love that sort of thing. When that started in the movie, I was just like
I literally like jump back. I'm like, why? What is this? Normally I love it. It just totally threw me off, and then it didn't stop.
The sequence is so weird.
Yes to the singing. Absolutely. No idea what he was going for there. That was just creep of all creepiness. Slow-mo and speedsters. This is one I wanted to hit on, actually, and I'm glad, Jesse, you're right there with me. Why has slow-mo become synonymous with a fast person? When you stop and think about it, it doesn't make sense, because they should be moving faster than everybody else. So I guess it's the way the slow-mo is done, because whenever we go into slow-mo, like you saw with the hot dog in the car, like Ezra's standing there and he's like, he's just kind of moving around, just doing this and doing that, and he's like, you know. But it's like, no, they should be moving. Like, I hope you guys get what I'm saying. You don't have time to stand there. You're not slowing down time. You're moving faster than everybody else. So you need to be moving. If you're running, you're running. You know, honestly, probably who did it best was in X-Men First Class with Quicksilver. Because you saw him, he's doing this super fast run. And it's like, yes, that's what they're doing. They're getting there before the person flying through the air. Not, oh yeah, I can just kind of stroll over because time moves slower for me. That's not how super speed works. That's the opposite effect.
I think that's how Zack Snyder works.
Yeah.
So he was showing us how he views it. It doesn't necessarily equate to what makes sense.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it whenever someone's a speedster and they're just kind of putzing around like, I got all day, yep, hot dog, poop, you know. No.
Quicksilver does that when they're breaking Magneto
he does
out.
That too, but
he does zip between moments, but he'll like zip, move the bullet, zip, do that. So at least they did that.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe DC was like, well, they kind of nailed it.
I will defend it at this point in saying that he moves into the extra dimensional reality. So for him, he's moved into something else. So that's the only way I'll defend that in this movie.
Speed Force.
Speed Force. Yeah. I don't know. I just want to
because when he's running back time at the end and the sidewalk is reconstructing around him and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the different layer of reality.
That's the only way I can justify it. But again, if you're going to do that, you got to get rid of the slow motion music videos.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Aquaman and Movie Lois.
I guess that's my thing, though. At the end there, where he's running, everything's concerned. It's like, but he's running the whole time, and I guess that's the main thing. It's like if he could do the same stuff, but as long as he's actually doing it with some sort of urgency, like I'm actually moving instead of just like I've got all day. It even takes the peril away from it because you're like, well, who cares? He's got like 2 hours before she hits anything. You know, we got all day here, so.
Yeah. I did not like the hot dog scene for many reasons, but it wasn't necessarily the way that they used it.
And then the last thing I want to bring up is, let's be honest here, for all the good that this movie did, I think all of us can say that we had a much more positive reaction to it than we had to the theatrical release. Let's be honest here. This Snyder Cut would never have gotten released into a theater. The same thing would have happened to it that happened to the Whedon cut, where he would have sent this in, and DC would have been like, dude, this is one movie. You have, maybe they give him 2.5 hours. So again, yes, you cut out the slow-mo, you cut out some of the needless exposition, but I still think, even then, he's still probably taking about a half hour of really crucial stuff out of it. So then you're right back in the same boat. So, for everybody who wants to go restore the Snyderverse, in my opinion, if you restore it and it goes back to theaters, you're not going to get this. This was a one-time thing, basically, I think, just because theaters were hit so hard in the past year, and they're going, hey, we can get people to sign up for HBO Max this way, and that's a good source of income for us. You know? At the end of the day, we never would have gotten this 4-hour cut in the theaters.
No. I mean, this 4-hour cut was supposed to be 4 one-hour episodes.
Yes.
Like, this was not supposed to be a one-and-done thing, which makes one of my negatives is how Steppenwolf keeps referring to the sentiment.
7 times, I counted 7 times talks about them smelling the mother box. It's such a weird thing to focus on. I don't know why. It's a weird thing to focus on, a weird thing to focus on. But anyway, this never would have been a theater.
No. And actually, I wish they had released it as either, like you said, 4 one-hour episodes or even 8 half-hour-ish, 40-minute-ish episodes. Like, I think it would have done even better if it had followed that, like, every Friday you get another piece of it. And it really was set up that way. So, I would have welcomed that personally.
Yeah, because that's one thing about streaming services, like...
not trying to sell anything here, but, like, the way Disney Plus does their shows, where it's 1 episode a week.
Oh, it's awesome.
It prolongs the
conversation. People keep talking about it.
And it builds more of a buzz so that it's not 364 days until the next week. At least 2 months of a show. And then you have, like, I
can't math.
Yeah. No,
90 days until the next episode or something.
Shawn, how many times have I brought this up, especially with all our discussions about Netflix and their philosophy? I love this man right over here because this is everything I've been saying for years now about Netflix.
It's true, and I think there's more streaming services out now that are conditioning us that we're becoming regular TV watchers again. And I think Netflix now, although they did the whole switcheroo where all of a sudden now people can binge the hell out of everything, but there is something to be said about, hey, take your time. Each week you have something to look forward to now. Right. It's not just you got everything done in 24 hours and now you're just sitting there complaining about it because you just wrecked it for yourself.
And it gives guys like us time to come up with our theories, even though they're always wrong. I mean, you get to sit there and you get to talk to your buddies like, hey, what do you think's going to happen?
Sure.
Instead of throwing out there like, hey, what do you think is going to happen? And then Matt Rodriguez is like, oh, well, this happened because he already binged it all and he has no problem spoiling it for everybody.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
What's funny, in literally this year, I have remembered what it felt like to watch TV again, because I did it light with the boys. Like, I wasn't a huge fan, but I would check it out from time to time on my own leisure.
Right.
And then we had Superman and Lois. We have Invincible. We have WandaVision. We have The Mandalorian. We have Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And it's like, now it's appointment TV. Part of it is the rush to, I want to watch it so that I'm not getting spoiled on social media. But the other part is, I'm actually invested enough that I want to sit down and watch this. It's appointment viewing now. I really want to see what happens next.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And I think that's going to lead us right to our last bit here. So basically, since we're going off-world, we're hoping to meet once a month-ish. I don't know. It's not going to be regular. It's going to be when we feel like it, when we got something to talk about. So, real quick here before we take off, I'm going to list, how many do we got? I got 5 recent shows or movies. I want to hear a yay if you recommend it, a nay if you don't recommend it, I haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, do you plan on it, or it's not for you? All right?
All right.
Just to kind of give people a little bit of recommendations and a little bit of what we're into. So, and Shawn, you've mentioned off some of them already. So we'll keep going. We'll go Jesse, Shawn, me every time. So
sure.
Superman and Lois.
Have not seen it yet. I do plan to watch it.
Okay.
Been watching it since the first episode, and I recommend it to anybody that I can talk to.
Yep. Same here. I think I'm all caught up. I might have one episode left, and it's on its break right now. So great time to catch up. Highly recommend it. It's the Superman show I never knew I wanted, but I'm loving it.
Yes.
Next up, Invincible.
I have not seen the final episode yet. Been a little busy, but
I'm enjoying it. I've read the whole comic series, so I highly recommend the show and the comic.
All right.
Yeah, I got to finish it on Thursday night, and I knew what would happen based on reading the comic, but I'm really enjoying seeing the people that haven't read the comic, their reactions, because it only gets more interesting from here, folks.
Oh, that montage at the end. Yes, I've seen it. Yes, I highly recommend it. I have not read the comics yet. I plan on picking them up during the break here. I wanted to at least finish the first season. Mainly, the reason I held off was because everyone's like, oh, it follows the comics very closely. So I'm like, well, I want to be surprised. Shawn, that montage at the end there, I'm just like, oh, this can go so many places.
It can and it will. That's the thing.
All right, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes, absolutely loved it. One of the best Marvel things, in my opinion.
I've seen the whole thing, and I actually talked to Jesse about it. I think the bookends are the best part. I wasn't a big fan of the middle bits of this series, but I love the first episode, and the final 2 really knocked it out of the park for me.
Yep, I've seen it all. I'll give it a yay. I enjoyed it. WandaVision was better in my opinion, but it's a good, enjoyable show, and you should watch it. I think season 2's going to be even better, so I'm looking forward to see what comes with that. Okay, movie. Mortal Kombat.
Yes,
I saw it twice. Spoiler alert, Shawn watched it with me the second time. If you like those types of movies, yes, watch it. If you don't enjoy that type of thing, skip it.
Now, when you say, just to clarify, when you say that type of thing, are you meaning video game movie or
like
violent martial arts movies?
Okay, gotcha.
Like Jesse said, I watched it with him last weekend, and I was laughing through parts of it, and then there were other parts where I'm like, oh, they went there. I I honestly don't think I'd really recommend it though, because it's very much an acquired taste, and it's not. I don't know. I just found like there's moments that is really cool, and then there's moments where I'm just like, okay.
Well, I have not seen it, but I do intend on watching it. I've only had to hold off because I don't think my wife will be into it, and I don't want my kids seeing it, at least until I see it and see how gruesome it is. If you guys saw the original Mortal Kombat, do you say better or worse?
Better.
Okay.
I'd say better in some ways, but there is an appeal to the cheese factor of the '90s that it was, because nothing beats Christopher Lambert going Mortal Kombat, because he had a real way of saying that.
I guess that's
Mortal
my thing.
Kombat. You know,
Honestly, I even liked Annihilation. Like there were parts. There were parts that were horrible, but there was also parts where I'm just like, oh my god, it's Mortal Kombat. It's on the big screen. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So nostalgia is a big factor.
Definitely.
And last one here: Godzilla versus Kong.
I watched that maybe half a dozen times or more.
I love the MonsterVerse. I like the classic movies, as many of them that I've seen. I really like this new stuff, so I really liked it. And if you like monster movies, I definitely recommend it.
Actually, the person that made me watch the movie was my daughter. She saw the preview and she goes, "We have to watch this. It's my first Godzilla movie, Dad." I'm like, "Okay." And I sat through it with her, and I was like, we cheered. It felt like we were at a boxing match when the two of them went head to head. And actually, there is a moment in that movie where my daughter turned into me because she got snarky, and Godzilla has a moment where he's reaching up after he's gotten knocked over, and she first words out of her mouth, tell them my story. I was so proud. I cheered for her. I thought it was great. But I'm like Jesse. I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times now because my kids want to watch that one, and I have yet to be unentertained by that movie. It's impressive how entertaining it is.
Nice. Now that is another one that I have not seen, but I definitely plan on it. I'm actually way behind. The only one I've seen is Skull Island out of this more recent verse. Do I need to see the others, or can I skip right ahead to Godzilla versus Kong? Because that's kind of what's been holding me off. I'm like, I kind of want to get caught up first.
I would at least recommend King of the Monsters.
I think
Godzilla is one of the best of the Godzilla movies.
The monster storyline sets up stuff that Godzilla versus Kong.
Gotcha. All right. I will definitely check those out. I think we've exhausted all this, so Shawn, take us away, buddy.
All right. Everybody, first off, Matt, and I would like to thank Jesse for being the third co-host here tonight, and officially welcome him aboard so he can do other episodes with us. That's awesome. A little bit of my nostalgia through my childhood, being able to talk shop with him and talk shop with Matt. So always a good time. So thanks again, Jesse, for joining us, and also letting me use your apartment to record tonight too, which is cool. And the fire engines, thank you, by the way. Anyway, yeah, we hope that you liked our first off-worlding episode, and we plan to do some more. Hey, if you have suggestions, comments, or anything of what you want us to cover that is non-Masters of the Universe related on here, feel free to let us know. I know we have the logpod85 at gmail.com if you want to reach out to us that way, if you're just a YouTube subscriber right now, or you can also reach us on the Legends of Grayskull pages on Facebook. Feel free. We're gonna have some more fun with this. It'll be a really fun mixed bag each time. It won't, like Matt said, monthly-ish, and it's gonna be fun. We get to deep dive on some of the stuff that I know Matt and we've been wanting to geek out on some of these other things, but we want to keep Legends of Grayskull to the masters. Simple as that. And I just knocked my phone. So anyway, like, share, subscribe, give us ring that bell, give us thumbs up, stars, whatever it is that your podcast app or YouTube will let you do. And yeah, until next time.
Until next time, guys, stay legendary.